Hi, my name is Kimberly, and I'm here today to talk to you about being an attorney. What exactly is an attorney? Well, an attorney is someone who specializes in learning the laws, and it's someone who advises others about the laws and other type of legal matters. And it requires someone to be educated and trained in all the different laws. And in order to be an attorney, you need to be licensed to practice law in each state. So for example, I am an attorney in Texas, and so in order to become an attorney here, I had to go through a process that included a 3-day examination of my knowledge of laws, a background check, and a separate test on my ethics to make sure that I was somebody who could be licensed to practice law in Texas. Before practicing in Texas, I was actually an attorney in California, so I had to go through a similar process, but had to do it 3 years before because that's when I wanted to be an attorney in California. So each state has its own requirements for what it takes to be licensed in the state to become an attorney. But as an attorney, my main job is to give advice to others on law and other legal issues. So what are the different types of attorneys? Well, there's a wide variety of types of attorneys, and that's in part because there's so many different types of law. There are criminal attorneys who handle cases that involve different types of criminal charges. It could be anything from, shoplifting or trespassing to theft or even murder. There's a variety of different types of criminal violations that come into play for criminal attorneys. There are trial attorneys in civil cases, and that's someone who goes to court and tries different business disputes before a judge. There's family lawyers that deal with adoptions or child custody or divorces. Corporate attorneys usually deal with different companies and their deals and acquisitions and different disputes. Employment attorneys usually focus on disputes or advice relating to bosses and employees in different companies. There are also things like tax attorneys, international attorneys, intellectual property attorneys. They deal with things like logos and different brands and different company names and assets. There's environmental attorneys that focus on trying to protect and save our resources on the earth. Real estate attorneys deal with land and houses and commercial buildings. And then you even have types of attorneys like entertainment and sports attorneys who represent different athletes in their negotiations or deals. There's other types of lawyers as well, so there's a wide variety of types of attorneys out there. Just as many types of law there are even more attorneys. So what type of attorney am I? Well, I'm a trial lawyer. I'm a trial attorney. That means that I go to court and I argue cases. And most of the work I do is different companies in disputes with other companies or employers or individuals. So I end up in court a lot. And I go to courts here in Texas, but also all over the country to argue and try to resolve different disputes. I also handle trials and spend a lot of time in appellate courts as well. So I do spend most of my time probably in courthouses and in my office. So how does one become an attorney? Well, first you have to finish high school. So that's for 4 years. And then you go to college for 4 years. And for me, I went to school in Baltimore, Maryland, and earned a degree in international relations. And then I went to law school for 3 years. And for law school, I went to school in Boston, Massachusetts. And then after that, I moved to California. So I had to take a bar exam in California. And then 3 years later, decided to move to Texas. So I had to take a different bar exam to become an attorney in Texas. Now, in terms of training, what did I do to become an attorney? Well, I started off in college and in law school doing internships. And that's when you volunteer to work for free in order to get experience. And so I didn't know anything about attorneys. I never knew an attorney, but I volunteered to work for different courts and different judges and different attorneys and different government agencies. So I'd get a good idea of what it meant to be an attorney and to decide whether I wanted to spend an additional 3 years in school to go to law school to become an attorney. And then during law school, I started working for a law firm, and they liked me and hired me to work for them after I graduated from law school. So where do I usually work? Well, most often I'm downtown in an office building. Right now, however, I'm working from home, as well as most professionals, and many non-essential workers are also at home. So that's where I am now. What does a typical workday look like for me? Well, I spend a lot of time at my desk. Part of that is I write a lot. I write a lot of letters. I write a lot of papers that get filed with the courts on different issues. And in addition to writing a lot, I also read a lot. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of cases. I read a lot of decisions made by different judges that are relevant to the information in my particular issue. I read a lot of documents that my clients send me. And I read a lot of the news because a lot of times it's easy for me to stay on top of the news so that I know what type of issues my clients may be facing that they may need my legal advice. So I'm at my desk a lot. I'm on the phone a lot. I'm on my computer a lot. I print a lot of documents. And then I also one of the goals for what I do is to try to reach agreement with other people. Because a lot of times what I work on are cases where people disagree and they have arguments about who's right and who's wrong. And so a lot of times I spend big chunks of my day trying to find out if we're going to be able to agree on something, and if so, what that might be. So, what do I like about being an attorney? Well, honestly, I think it's fun. I like the fact that it's a challenge every day. Every day, even if I'm sitting at the same desk, every day is different. I have different issues that pop up, different laws that pop up, different clients I'm working with, different judges I'm dealing with, different attorneys on the other side of cases. So it's always challenging, it's always different, and it always keeps me thinking. I like helping people. I like helping companies, so I feel useful. And I also like the fact that oftentimes in my cases, like, you get to the end and you can win. So that's always feels good and makes you feel like you've done a good job helping your client. Now, I'm not saying it happens all the time. I've worked on plenty of cases where we didn't win. That is obviously not as much fun, but that's also just a realistic expectation, is that sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, but you work really hard to try to get to the end of the solution. But some of the cases that I work on may take years and years of hard work before we finally get to the end. In addition to being an attorney, there are a variety of other options in careers in law. Some of those options include being a paralegal, who's responsible for helping the attorneys and legal staff put together documents for deals or cases. There's a police officer that's responsible for enforcing the laws. There's legal librarians that are responsible for maintaining the books and research papers for different attorneys and paralegals working on cases. There's a judge who's responsible for overseeing trials in both the criminal cases and also the civil cases that I handle. And also there's legal secretaries, law clerks. There are a variety of different and interesting positions within the legal world. That's all I have for now. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about being an attorney.